Roots of evil. The town of Black Hollow sat on the edge of an ancient forest, a place so dense and dark that even the bravest hunters refused to go in after sunset. The locals called it the Blackthorn Woods, but among the elders, it had another name, the Rooted Curse. For centuries, whispered legends spoke of the twisted roots that grew beneath the forest floor, not from trees, but from something older and far more sinister. The stories were dismissed by many, yet those who wandered too deep never returned. Some said the roots would slither like serpents, wrapping around legs, dragging souls beneath the earth, feeding the darkness that pulsed beneath the soil. The arrival of the stranger. It was late autumn when Elias Carter arrived in Black Hollow, a botanist and researcher. Elias had spent years chasing myths of supernatural plant life, legends of trees that moved, forests that devoured. When he heard about the Blackthorn Woods, he knew he had to see it for himself. The town, however, was less than welcoming. At the Rusty Lantern Inn, the barkeep, a grizzled man named Henry, watched Elias with narrowed eyes as he sipped his whiskey. "You ain't planning to go into those woods, are you?" Henry asked. Elias smiled, setting his glass down. "That obvious?" Henry grunted. "City folks always come with that same look, curiosity. Don't last long." "I study plants, not ghosts," Elias replied. "If there's something unique growing there, I want to document it." A woman sitting by the fireplace scoffed. "You won't be the first to try, but you'll be the next to disappear." Elias chuckled. "I appreciate the warning, but I think I'll be fine." Henry sighed. "If you're dead set on going, take this." He slid a small wooden talisman across the bar. It was carved with strange symbols, the wood old and blackened at the edges. "What is it?" Elias asked. "A ward," Henry muttered. "Might not save you, but it's better than nothing." Elias pocketed the charm, convinced it was just superstition. The next morning, he packed his gear and ventured into the Blackthorn Woods. Into the Blackthorn Woods. The moment Elias stepped past the tree-line, an unnatural silence swallowed the world. No birds, no rustling leaves, only the distant creaking of the trees. The air was damp, thick with the scent of decaying wood. Moss covered every surface, and the ground felt unnaturally soft, like something breathing beneath it. Hours passed as Elias documented bizarre plant species, fungi that oozed black sap, vines that twisted unnaturally toward him as if reaching. But what fascinated him most were the roots, thick, gnarled, and pulsating just beneath the surface. As he knelt to examine one, the soil shifted. A root slithered, recoiling as though alive. Elias recoiled, heart pounding. He pulled out his notebook, frantically sketching. A whisper drifted through the trees. Elias froze. It sounded like a voice, distant, beckoning. He turned, scanning the woods. Nothing, just endless trees stretching into darkness. Then he saw it, a figure, just beyond the reach of the dying sunlight. Tall, thin, wrapped in what looked like roots and bark. It had no face, only hollow indentations where eyes should be. A chill crawled down Elias's spine. He took a step back. The figure moved, and the roots beneath him shifted. He ran. The roots awakened. Branches clawed at his face as he sprinted, the roots writhing beneath his feet, trying to ensnare him. He stumbled, barely catching himself. His breath came in ragged gasps as he spotted a crumbling cabin in the distance. Without thinking, he ran toward it, throwing himself inside and slamming the door shut. Darkness consumed the interior. The stench of rot filled the air. Elias fumbled for his flashlight, the beam flickering over walls covered in markings, symbols identical to the talisman Henry had given him. A sound came from behind him. A deep, wet whisper. He turned, flashlight trembling. Roots hung from the ceiling like veins, pulsing. In the corner of the cabin, something moved. A bundle of roots unraveled, revealing a corpse half consumed by the tangled mass, its mouth frozen in a silent scream. Elias staggered back, horror clawing at his mind. The legends were true. Something ancient lived here, something that fed on those who wandered too far. The whisper came again, but this time, it was inside his head. "You should not have come." Pain lanced through his skull as the roots surged forward. Elias threw himself out the door, hitting the ground hard. He scrambled to his feet and ran, but the forest fought back. Roots erupted from the earth, grasping at his ankles. He reached into his pocket, fingers closing around the talisman. Desperation overtook logic. He clutched the charm and screamed, "Let me go!" The roots hesitated. The whispering stopped. Then the forest roared. A deafening howl of wind and creaking would fill the air. Elias ran, pushing his exhausted body beyond its limits. He didn't stop until he saw the faint glow of lanterns through the trees. The escape and the truth. He collapsed at the edge of town. When he woke, he was in the Rusty Lantern Inn, Henry sitting beside him. "You're lucky," Henry muttered. "Most don't make it out." Elias sat up, wincing. "The legends, they're real." Henry nodded. "The Blackthorn Woods ain't just cursed, it's alive, and it's hungry." Elias shuddered. "What was that thing I saw?" Henry's face darkened. "A hollow one. The forest claims the lost. The ones it takes don't die, and not really, they become part of it." Elias glanced at the talisman still clutched in his hand. "This saved me." Henry nodded. "For now, but the forest doesn't forget. If I were you, I'd never go near those trees again." Elias left Black Hollow the next morning, but he never truly escaped. The whispers haunted his dreams, and no matter where he went, he swore he could feel the roots beneath his feet, waiting, watching, growing closer. The forest had marked him. And one day, it would take him back.